Hey, welcome to Captive Audience. Wonderful Wednesday. It is July 3rd. Tomorrow is Independence Day for America, and boy, the news is just still like going, and the Biden and the Democrats are imploding. That you don't know what's going on. So, hey, Don, how you doing?
I'm doing Happy Birthday America again. I can't remember which birthday this is, but let's just say there's more fireworks going on now than there were when Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner. And we'll get to that for sure.
Yes, there is, and so there's a lot. We were just talking about David, Don and I. We will just start there. You know, how, well, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just very, in my sadness, I found out this morning. I'm just happy that I got to spend the time that I did with him. It wasn't very long. I mean, I've only known David for a couple of years, and it's hard to believe that he's gone. But I'm really thankful that I got to know him. What a sensational guy, and what a blessing that we were able to get a piece of him, before he left us. So just thankful that I had him, and would love to have more, like I'm sure you all would as well. But and wish his family all the best.
Yes, and so I didn't want to speak for you by any means, and so yeah, we're praying for the Darnell family and Karen and the kids and Dave. Dave just, I'll tell you, I learned a lot from Dave. A lot from
Yeah.
David,
What
and
is that?
this is what's nice of different people with different perspectives and different knowledge. Of course, right? We all have some different areas, and
He had a real gift. I mean, he could just without preparation, he could just start talking, and it would be coherent and awesome. I mean, so he really had a gift. I'm glad he got to share it with us.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. We will miss that very, very
So,
much. Well, so speaking of Biden and the Democrats, boy, there's a bunch of Democrat governors were meeting today with him, and well, let's see. What do you think that conversation was like, Don? Were they saying, "All right, you've got to step down, step aside"? Big donors are pulling money.
well, this whole thing is surreal to me. I mean, I'll ramble a bit because I think first of all, I think people like us have thought for a long time that he wasn't really here. He was being handled by someone else. I mean, you could see the cognitive decline before the last election. I mean, so this is not new. The thing that blows my mind is that and they've been hiding him. Remember, he campaigned in the basement. We've never had a candidate be less visible to the public ever in the history of
Never,
the country. Never had that happen.
never.
And then so why would they turn? They had to have known. So why did they turn him loose? And the argument might have been that they wanted him to fail so they could get rid of him. But I'm not sure, and we'll talk about this in a minute. But I don't see that either because I don't see a pathway to replacing him. It looks like he has to agree, or I should say, she, his wife Jill, has to agree because maybe she's the real president here, has to agree to replace him, and she's clearly power thirsty and doesn't want to give it up. So I'll just leave it there, Sonny, and we can kind of discuss what that pathway might look like for them because I just don't see it.
Well, you're right in that, but remember that 25th Amendment. That pesky 25th Amendment that they made sure that they talked about before he was ever elected. And I never thought that they would use it on Trump. I always thought that would be something that they would use on Biden. And now you're hearing people talk about it more. But is I feel that if they were to remove him, the base of the Democrat Party, I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of, well, so the base of the Democrat Party would be destroyed because they all voted for him in a sham, right? But that that debate, I don't think they juiced him up enough. And was it on purpose? I don't know. Because then he went and did, you know, uh, a rally. You got Angry Joe. Was that a double? I haven't any idea. I
Yeah.
think that was him all juiced up.
Well, yeah, if he's this bad, you thought you'd have done a double in the first place. I mean, that is really getting deep state-ish saying this, but given what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, you have to think of that as a possibility. So clearly they didn't do that. Um, and as far as the 25th Amendment goes, my understanding of that is that it has to be his cabinet, and I think Congress has to come to a consensus to move him out. And I don't. His cabinet doesn't look like they want to do that. So I don't know how that would work.
Well, I was listening to a commentator the other day, and he was talking about it. And so there's two ways. One, Congress can use the 25th Amendment.
Okay.
And so, but it is his cabinet would do that, and the person would he would step down. But people are now openly saying, who's running the country? Hell, we've been saying that a lot
Yeah,
on Captive Audience.
we've known that from the beginning.
Who's been running the country?
Yeah, I have my
And
own theories around who that is, but yes,
me
it
too.
ain't
And it
him.
starts with
It ain't
Obama.
right. Yes, exactly.
But now they're openly stating that Jill has her own desk. Jill has as much staff and assistants than Michelle Obama did. And then you're hearing about Hunter being in the room with all of the staff, the chiefs of staffs. Hello, what is this? What's this
It's
truly
unbelievable.
convicted
And
felon?
what's more unbelievable is the national press is actually reporting it. They were burying all this stuff
Yes,
before. You can't tell me
yes.
this is new. This can't be new either. So, but again, without a clear pathway, I mean, you got to. Okay, here's the thing. So, didn't you have the problem of? Let's say that you could motivate. I'm not sure what kind of a vote Congress would need to have to do this amendment. Because remember, Congress is pretty much split. What right down the middle. I mean, Republicans have like 3 or 4 seats more than the Democrats do. If it's a 2/3 majority or something to make that
Yeah.
happen, that's going to be really hard to do. But the
Yeah,
second,
that's a heavy lift. But
yeah,
then again, are the Democrats so going, oh no, we're going to absolutely lose with him at the top?
right. But if you're
I
on the
don't see a
Republican
win
side,
solution for any of
yeah,
it.
what incentive would you have to get rid of them? I mean,
Right.
yeah, some would say we have a guy for the next 6 months is a dangerous place to be with the headless guy or whoever's running him. We don't even know who it is. You could make that argument, but we've been running like that for the last 3.5 years. What difference will another 5 months make? I don't know. But the other thing
Well,
is,
no, we're getting closer to war.
oh, we're definitely getting closer to war.
That's the big difference. They're getting closer to war. But I was looking on some social media right before coming on, and uh, apparently Joe Biden has said no to Ukraine joining NATO. They're
Mhm.
too corrupt. And yet we had the head of our military just give Ukraine another couple $1 billion. The giving away of our money to this, it's the
Well, speaking,
world is in shambles. So having somebody else at the helm, if they were truly at the helm,
mhm.
because let me tell you, I think if it happened to be Kamala Harris, I think it would still be the same puppet
Well, see, and
situation.
that's the thing. From a true American's perspective, what would be the improvement? I mean,
Right.
Kamala Harris, the sad thing about her, she doesn't even have dementia, and she's dumber than Joe. So, I mean, that's not an improvement. Um,
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And now I heard Chip Roy, I think it
mhm.
was Chip Roy, said he wanted to impeach Kamala Harris because of perpetuating the lie that Joe is okay.
Yeah,
I just read that tonight, right before coming on the air.
and all these proceedings take a lot of time. So I'm just having a hard time seeing it. And then you have the guy from California, that governor, the state's a disaster.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
as he's as unpopular as Biden. Hillary Clinton is as unpopular or more so than Biden. You go on the list of the possible suspects. I think the only one that sounds remotely credible is the one in Michigan. I can't remember her name, the governor of Michigan. I just don't see it.
I don't either, but I'll take the Democrat Party being an absolute shambles, and the
Oh,
lion media. One day the legacy media says one thing, and the next day, oh no, we're circling back, and they've all got their talking points. Oh no, you've got to go
well,
along and change the
there
narrative. It's hilarious to
there may
watch.
be one of the big positives that comes out of this is that portion of the population. So you have the 30% that listen to programs like this and that actually are dialed in and get it. uh, You all already got it. But you have that next 25 or 30%, who kind of loosely look at stuff. They look at the national media for their news. They just they didn't get it till Thursday night. They got a giant like cold bucket of ice water thrown in their face that they've been getting lied to. And if they've been lied to about this, what about everything else? What about COVID, for example? Right? It calls into
Right,
question all
right.
of this stuff, and that's a great thing.
Well, and so before we came on, you said you didn't watch much of the debate. Well, I was at a Judicial Watch event and
Mhm.
watched it with a whole group of good conservatives. I'm going to guess they're all conservative. I don't really know their party.
You could lose 5 IQ points just from watching Biden.
But we were playing Biden bingo, and it was fascinating. My friend Carol, who's from Oregon, she went with me, and she actually won. There were several people that won Biden bingo, but to hear Trump, Biden says something, and Trump says, I don't know what the end of that sentence was, and I don't think he does either. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh.
What was the crowd? It would have been really to be in a conservative crowd watching that live. What must that have been like? Was everybody gasping? I mean, it really wasn't about
Yes,
Trump's brilliance at all to me. It's just that you couldn't believe they put a guy with dementia on the stage. Let me stop there.
yes. And I was surprised that Angry Joe didn't show up, because I go, oh, we don't get the angry guy tonight, but he would look at Trump, and his mouth agape. His mouth
Yeah,
was
mouth
agape the
open.
entire time. And he would look at him kind of sternly and a little surprise. Oh my heavens. Oh my. And
People must have been gasping.
yes. Yeah, the room, it was actually really cool to be with that many people
Mhm.
watching it. And one gal, she had said, I'm just so nervous for this debate. And I said, really? Huh, that surprised me. And I said, why? She goes, because I don't think Trump should be doing it. And I go, no, I think Trump should be doing it, because there's a whole audience that are going to get to see him that don't ever get to see him.
Well, I got to tell you, I fell into the camp. I'm not going to pretend like I was on the right side of this thing. I fell into the camp of like wishing he didn't do it going in, and then my biggest reasons was because it was because CNN was running it. I just felt they're going to do what they usually do and tilt the thing in his favor, in favor of Biden. But Biden was so bad they couldn't do it. What I didn't anticipate was that the guy had his dementia had progressed that much. Um,
Yes, and I've heard talk about that, like in the last 5 months, that he's gone quite down. But then afterwards, you see Trump exit stage right, and you see Jill come up and take his hand and help him down the stairs.
could you
Why
believe
didn't
that?
he exit stage left? I
Could you,
don't
could you
know.
believe they showed that? That's what
Yes,
stunned me was that the
yes.
national press, CNN, showed that can't be an accident. Maybe they really are that stupid, but I just
You,
don't
you
know.
know, I wonder if it was by design. I don't have any idea. I'm not on the inside there, but some things wouldn't surprise me to now bring in somebody. And when I read today that I believe it was Chip Roy that called for an impeachment of Vice President Harris, because in my opinion, I don't really know Democrat strategy, but the Democrats are not real thrilled with Kamala Harris. Her poll numbers are worse than Joe's. So she's
Well,
not the winning ticket here,
well,
having
when
her
you
at the top of the ticket.
well, when you play the DEI intersectional game, and instead of finding the most qualified candidate, you find somebody because they're black and a woman, this is what you could wind up with.
Yeah.
That's precisely what they did. And one thing I might add, at least if you're going to play that game, you can't tell me you can't find a smart one who's a black and a woman. This is like
Right.
horrendous. Um, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
So there is a lot of talk that Biden is going to step down, but I've heard today almost as much talk that he's not.
I don't think he's going to step down
And
because Jill, man, she needs that power.
well,
You look at her behavior. She likes being in that seat. She
the
likes
family doesn't want to lose, but they're going to lose big time anyway. I think they've reached the end of their political life.
Well, I believe that's true. However, it depends on what you mean by end. Is it going to be ended by Trump on November 1st, or is it going to be ended by Democrats before then?
We shall see. We shall see. And so I have some stories here that I found interesting. Dozens of Democrats are reportedly considering issuing a public demand, and this is from Newsweek. This is today, but this is this morning today, that dozens of Democrats are considering issuing a public demand that Biden drop out of the race because of his troubling debate. And at least 25 U.S. House members on Tuesday were preparing to call for Biden to step aside. So we'll see what happens on that.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the positive
and then,
for conservatives is that the longer they're doing that, the less time they're attacking Trump, the more time they're talking about a serious weakness that they have. And if they do get rid of him and get somebody else, the less time that person has to campaign. So it's a net positive for us, no matter how you look at it.
And here's a story from the New York Post. White House staffers reportedly scared, you can imagine the expletive there, of erratic Biden, tiptoe around isolated president during briefings, not a pleasant person to be around. So this is what's out in what some might call the news. I don't call the New York Post any news at all. And I like this article. What?
Well, I said they weren't reporting this stuff before. That's what's amazing about it.
No, you've got that right. And now there's a plethora of it. So Matt Margolis from PJ Media says the Democrat Party made its own bed and now it must lie in it.
Oh, yeah. And Pat just made a great point. You can't even add them on the ballots in a lot of states. And there's 50 different states with 50 different state laws. How are they going to get them on the ballot even? I mean, they've created, like you just said, they made their bed. I mean, they refused to have a primary like they're supposed to have, and they just tried to select a king. If they had done this the way it was supposed to be done, think about the elections in the past. You always had 6 or 7 people running against each other, and you whittled it down to 1 or 2, and then you had 1 and 1 going against each other. On the Republican side, we went through that process. I mean, Trump won it, but we had 3 or 4 people that kind of went after it, and then you got Trump. On the Democrat side, we haven't had that for 2 or 3 election cycles. So they've been circumventing the democratic process, all the while trying to say that Trump is an anti-democratic guy. I mean, the way they lie, whatever they say the other guy's doing, that's what they're doing.
Well, absolutely. And another story in PJ Media from Victoria Taft, she says, this came out today. Who's really running the country? And the picture that they put up of him is an awful face. I'll tell you, it's not a pleasant picture. But if his dementia keeps him in the sidelines most of the day, and this is what I heard on some Newsmax commentary today, somebody's pulling the strings, somebody's making the deals. Who is it exactly? Because you know what? We have nuclear codes, and it ain't Biden. Being the president of this country is a 24/7 job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
But they said
And
he's
he
functional.
needs so many naps, and he calls a lid so early. He doesn't get started till 11 o'clock. Then he has to have a nap at 1. Then at 4 o'clock, they call the lid, if not sooner.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe. It's hard. Think about Kennedy taking a phone call and
We're
dealing
there.
with Khrushchev, 60 years ago, right?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
this guy going to deal with that? And you think about this: our country is selling weapons to Ukraine, and Ukraine is launching those weapons on the Russian soil. How insane is that?
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think Putin's shown amazing restraint. The national media keeps wanting to call him crazy, but we're engaging in a war on their border. That'd be like them doing that with Mexico or Cuba. Um,
Yeah, and it is very, very scary times, truly in the world
mhm.
today. And
Well, you show weakness, you embolden your enemies. Anybody looking at that debate last night, if you're the guy in China, if you're the guy in North Korea, if you're the guy in the Middle East, Iran and Iraq, think about those countries, right?
Mhm.
Um, and you're looking at that debate, yeah. And we got hot spots. I mean, I don't think China's going to attack Taiwan because they're really weak. But that Ukraine Russia thing, that's super dangerous. The Israel, that's super dangerous. And
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
people we got a guy who's incapable of making decisions. We don't even know who the person is who is making the decisions. They're not in the Americans' best interest. You could be guaranteed of that.
No, no, there certainly aren't. And Lars Larson came out today with the headline of political desperation on full display. And that is exactly what we're seeing,
Mhm.
because there is not just one narrative. One group says, say this, and another group says, say that. And
Yeah.
it's,
Well, and
it,
see, here's the scary part. This thought just came into my mind. Think about the comparison between democracy and the dictatorships in the old days. If you were, let's say, Romania's Ceausescu, the price for losing an election was death. If you were in Iran or Iraq, the price of losing an election is death. You don't get to run again or name a successor or any of that stuff. And then if you look at what the Democratic Party has done to this country, think about all the crimes that we know they committed. Think about if the results of COVID come out, what really happened with that. Uh, you think about the Epstein thing. If that really comes out, then people are going to. I'm not sure if they'll be executed like Ceausescu, but let's say there's going to be some serious penalties. So we have a group of people who are running this country who are desperate because if they lose and this stuff ever comes out, they might be having a Ceausescu moment, which makes you more dangerous, which makes you more
it's true.
willing to do crazier things. Um,
Well,
and
you're absolutely right. And there were just, I want to say Monday, 200 pages of Epstein documents. The court, DeSantis had
mhm,
ordered those quite a while back, had ordered those to be released.
mhm.
Oh, I'm having one of those moments. The court that goes and looks and decides if they're going to bring a case or not. And so he ordered that normally those documents are kept out of the public, but he ordered the release of those. And so that's just a little bit of the door opening
Oh,
on Epstein.
yeah, the dam is breaking on a lot
Yeah.
of things. You see, there's been several cases where the whole mandate thing. I just saw one just a minute ago here. Let's see, what was that? The Mayo Clinic has gotten sued for forcing people to have the mandate in order to for force people to get the shot in order to keep their jobs. So they got
Oh,
sued.
wow.
That just went down, and they lost. And they lost the case. And there was another one, oh, in Tennessee. Let's see, Blue Cross got sued for forcing an employee to get the shot in order to keep her job, and that they lost, and it was a $700,000 fine for Blue Cross, which means that opens. You can imagine all the lawyers who are waiting for these kinds of things. So now think about the literally millions of people who can go after companies like Blue Cross who did that to them. I mean, this it's starting to break.
Well, it is starting to break, and here Lori says about Julian Assange, getting released. He's back home in Australia, and there's a lot that's happening, and remember, people in the beginning, people didn't like Trump because of his name calling. But what he did is he exposed so much. He exposed the lying media. He exposed a lot of corruption in our government, and there's a lot of whistleblowers came forward and still coming forward that exposing so many levels. The investigation into Hunter Biden and how it got derailed. And it was the IRS investigating him, and they go, "Oh, no, 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 no! You can't go look there."
Yeah,
And
people. Yeah,
legitimate investigations that should be, instead of the sham investigations that they've gone after Trump. He has been scrutinized his whole life in his business dealings, and they are proved lie after time. It's lie after lie.
yes, and then there's just the incontrovertible, in front of your face evidence of what's happened in your personal life in the past 3 years versus the 4 years before that. You don't need any agency telling you about this statistic or that statistic, and they play with the stats and all of that. You just look at what you paid for gas 5 years ago, look what you're paying now. What was your average grocery bill versus what you're paying now? Go to McDonald's now and compare what you paid for McDonald's 4 or 5 years ago. Look at the crime in the streets and what does it look like 5 years ago versus now. I mean, you go down the list. Who was in power when that stuff was happening? You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to follow any ideology. I mean, I think it's helpful to know why those things happened. I think people should vote on principles. But if you're not going to take the time and energy to review principles, then look at results. And the results have been obvious. We're in all of these wars all over the world. We were having these disasters all over the world. We weren't having crazy inflation like we have it. It's how you could look at that and vote for the other side is beyond me. It totally is. Hey, look, there were 35% of the population. I saw a poll. 33% of the population that watched the election thought Biden did great, which which almost is precisely the percentage of the population that I've always said is crazy. 30% are nuts.
And they're going to be the voter. Those are might be his real base. Those 30%. That's his real base. The rest of it is a sham.
Yeah. See, there's another 30% that are like people watch this show. So it's that 30% in the middle you got to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that 30% won't think philosophically. They don't think, they don't read. They have to get punched in the face by cold reality. And that's precisely what they've gotten the last 3 or 4 years. And this last thing Thursday night was like the knockout blow.
It was. And then afterwards, we have the Supreme Court decisions come out, and I'll tell you, they're dang big. So sure enough, the Supreme Court says that a president can't be prosecuted for doing their job. Well, and as it should be, it should be, because
but for 225 years, we understood this. No one ever did this before. We have a group of people so unethical that they had to enshrine in law what all the other generations before us just knew. Crazy.
That it is crazy. And I'm very glad. And of course, the left is blowing stuff up. Oh, he could just go commit murder and this and that and the other thing. And it's a president must have the freedom to do what is necessary to save a country, to further a country's, uh, to keep us safe, to, on behalf, the best interest of a nation. And you know what? Sometimes it's not pretty and it's not fun. It's just it's something that has to be done.
Mhm.
And there's strength in, and they need to show the strong side. And that was
Okay, good.
something that Trump did. He did.
Sure.
They said, oh, he's going to get us into wars. Look where the heck we are now,
Who's
because
going to get
Trump
into
didn't do
wars?
any of that.
Yeah, and to go back to your point earlier about the decisions that executives have to make, so Roosevelt firebombed Dresden, firebombed Tokyo. More people were killed in the firebombing of Tokyo than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, by far. Um, should he be prosecuted? Truman dropped an atomic bomb, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Should he be prosecuted? There are some who think so, by the way. Um, I'm
There
not
are.
one of them. You know,
I'm I'm not either. It
yeah,
ended the war, and it needed to
yeah,
end.
but those kinds of decisions have to be made all the time. A whole bunch of them we never know about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then a large one that is going to really affect the United States for years to come is the decision to overturn the 40-year precedent of the Chevron deference case. And so they did that last week.
That might
And
be that might be the biggest thing, bigger than the whole thing with Trump, bigger than the Biden disaster. Under the surface, not people aren't talking about that one, but the removal of the administrative state
yes,
is huge. So unelected officials have been running this thing for the last 40 years, and this puts a stop to it.
well, it does. And it stops it from that an agency is going to make law. They're going to bring their experts and say, no, we know what's best for your industry, which is what brought it. It was the New England fishermen that brought this case to the Supreme Court. And so where a federal agency is not able to tell a organization or a business what they must do, kind of like the EPA telling us that, oh, we've got to ban fossil fuels. We've got to stop using gasoline or natural gas.
Yeah, and just so that viewers have a little bit more of a, if you don't have clarity around what this means, so what would happen is, let's say you had a suit or you had an issue with the EPA, you'd have to go to the EPA's administrative court. Now, what is the likelihood you're going to win in their court? I think something like 90% of the cases citizens lost.
Yeah.
Whereas if they went to a regular court, it was more like 50-50, which is pretty much what you'd expect. So clearly the deck has been stacked in favor of the administrative state. You're much more likely to get a fair trial with a jury of your peers, which is how this was supposed to be run in the first place. So it's a huge win.
Yeah, because this case weakens the federal regulators. That's what this does. And so from the reading that I've done, it's not going to undo cases that have been settled, but it's new cases. Doesn't mean cases won't be revisited, because they
Yes.
can be. Just like Roe v. Wade was revisited, just like this case that the New England fishermen brought, revisited the Chevron case. And so it is, I think it could very well open up to more litigation and pushing back, not just on the federal government, but also on the states, saying you just don't have the right. You don't have the right to tell us, an agency, how much water we can run through our dishwasher.
Because there was another one under the same kind of list of things that got changed by the Supreme Court. Corner Post versus the Federal Reserve. Did you catch this one? This
No,
was another, okay. It's related to so they had a law in place that if you lost a case to one of these agencies, you couldn't revisit it for like 6 years, right? That was demolished. So now You can
Oh,
re-challenge the thing immediately, which is yet another win. So the administrative state took it on the chin, big time.
and I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It needs to be back into the real courts with judges, whether we agree with them or not. It needs to be back into judges' hands and not an agency's hands
And
dictating that they know better.
a jury of your
Yes.
peers.
Yes, and a jury of your peers. Absolutely. This is a huge win for America. And we're going to see the benefits of this in the years to come. And as the pushback happens,
Yeah.
totally. I'm so glad. It's like I wish things would happen immediately, but it won't. It's going to take more litigation to
Uh-huh.
undo the deep
Well,
state because nobody ever wants to give up power. Ever, ever, ever.
well, it took 50 years to undo Roe v. Wade. It took 40 years to undo Chevron. I mean, these things don't happen overnight. So, they just take time. I mean, we're in a multi-generational fight, and they've been winning up till now.
They have been. They have been, and it's Katie bar the doors with everything that they're trying to do.
Yeah, well, they've been
But
winning because we haven't fought back.
yes, well, but we haven't been able to
Yeah.
because of that case of the Chevron. There's been lots where you put in environmentalists over the will of the people.
Mhm.
Some and special interest groups over the will of the people, actually, and this stops it. This can
Sure.
stop it, I
Mhm.
should say.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of thing, and again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you're unwilling to think about the implications of things that people are doing,
Mhm.
um, then you have to suffer the consequences before you make a change. And what we've just watched over the last 4 years is people suffering the consequences. So the same people sit around, oh, we should get rid of police. They're terrible. And then the consequences are crime goes through the roof and you don't have any grocery stores in the neighborhoods anymore. That was totally predictable if you looked at what happens when you remove police. Or if you eliminate drug laws, yeah, do all the drugs you want. Suddenly you got fentanyl on the streets and you got no stores in downtown Portland. And well, yeah, that's what happens. It was totally predictable, but we have to wait until we get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
Sometimes that is the way it is. And, I'll tell you, I was reading a story. I don't have it here, but I was reading a story earlier today about Portland. Portland voted to change their form of government, to have a lot more city councilmen, and all these agencies going to be controlled by different city councilmen. The headline that I saw, and I think I got it from Oregon Catalyst, had said that the city council that's left right now are going to reverse the mandate of bringing on new city councilors. And I'm going, how do they have the right to do that? They're usurping the will of the voters. The voters voted on this.
Uh,
That's going to be an interesting thing. I'm going to have to look into that more. But
right. Yeah.
people don't like to give up power,
No, they don't.
even at
They
city
absolutely
councils
don't.
and school boards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. It's at all
Right.
kinds of levels. People
Mhm.
don't. And when I heard about the Chevron case and the Supreme Court, I feel I took it right back here to Oregon and our Department of Environmental Quality and the
Mhm.
things that they're doing to stifle Oregon. This is what shut down the coal power
Mhm.
plants here in Oregon. And then the Energy Facility Siting Council and Department of Energy of Oregon, Oregon Department of Energy, saying that we've got to have this following the edicts of a governor, these green energy things that are absolutely just killing our state, breaking our state,
Mhm.
and going, we can reverse some of this stuff.
Yes, that all can be reversed now. It's just awesome. Because let's face it, I mean, let's say Trump wins, it's not like he's going to be in office forever. You got to worry about what happens after that 4 years is up.
Yeah.
Um, you know, So we got to change a lot of things more than just the who's the who's in the executive office.
Yes, definitely. So I saw a couple of good. I got a story here that I was shocked at, and this is right here in Oregon, and it is in Troutdale. Officials at Reynolds High School in Troutdale, they refused to let graduates who enlisted in the military wear the stoles of their chosen armed services branches.
Yeah, that see that sort of stuff's just got to stop. You know,
It
people.
does. And if we don't bring it, if you're not looking for it and you're not aware of it, I'll tell you what, those parents are pissed. This
Yeah,
one woman, she was furious.
mhm.
Her
And what
son
they
went and enlisted in the Marines and was proud to wear the stole.
have to do is wear it anyway. Arrest us then. I mean
Right,
that's
stop me. What are you going to do? Not give me my diploma?
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I
Wear
don't
it
know,
anyway.
I don't know if you saw the thing. It was like a baseball game, a little league or something, and they came and announced that they weren't going to play the national anthem, and the crowd started singing it anyway. And the
Yes,
players for one team ran out of the dugout and saluted. It was like
I
that's what you
saw
want.
that.
Yeah,
Oh, I saw that. I saw that video and it was great. And that's what you have to do. Defy them.
resist. Uh,
Resist. There we are. Resist. Resist. Another story that I thought was a good one, and I've never heard of this rapper. I have never been into rap, but rapper Waka Flocka
mhm.
Flame tells all the Joe Biden voters to leave his concert. And
Wow,
this was in Salt Lake City, Utah last Monday. He told
that
his
is
fans to leave if they were Joe Biden voters during his concert at Club Sky in Salt Lake City, Utah.
now think about what a shift that is amongst the young. Could you have possibly seen that 4 years ago? I
Mm-mm.
mean, that if you're in your
No.
20s, this party and this administration has literally destroyed your opportunity. Just destroyed it. I mean, look at what the cost of a new house is now. Look
Oh,
at what the
yeah.
inflation is now. Look at the cost of going to college. I mean, look at every single thing you can look at. Everything they touch, they've
Hmm.
destroyed. And there's no way you can blame anybody else. This is like
Yeah, absolutely.
we
And
have a side by
also this
side comparison. Go ahead.
this rapper, after he made the announcement, he told them, "See ya." And then he played his song, It's a Party, which the rapper had previously dedicated to former President Donald Trump.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
so I think that is so good. You know what? There is the pushback, there is the resistance, and
Mhm.
and it's happening in so many just so many avenues. I have another quick one that I thought was interesting. We talk about electric vehicles and though Biden's electric push. Here is one from Just the News. Electric vehicle drivers successfully charge their electric vehicles only 78% of the time. How would you like to pull up to the gas and
Uh,
every other time you pull up, 2 out of 10 times the pumps don't work? Well, that's
well,
what
the
electric vehicles.
I saw an article. I can't remember what city it was. Several cities though. The crime in the cities is so bad because they're stealing. I think the metal from the recharging stations. That
Oh,
like a huge percentage of the time you can't recharge them anyway because the charging stations have been destroyed. So, and of course, these are the very same cities that don't believe in police. Could there be a correlation? I don't know.
yeah. So good luck if you have an electric vehicle and you want to get it all charged up. It is not 100% foolproof. And so there we are.
It's really expensive being cool, I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be so frustrating.
Mhm,
And I did see here in my town last week one of those new Tesla trucks. And I
mhm,
go, oh, wow, wow. One of those here in my little tiny town of,
mhm.
just 7,000, little over 7,000.
Yeah.
And so it made me look the truck up. So
Hmm.
it cost about $80,000. They're not painted. It's
Yeah.
a metal alloy
Uh-huh.
and they're not painted.
Wow. 80
And
grand.
yeah, no thanks. No thanks. They're
Yeah.
strange looking. I mean, it's totally looks
Yeah.
futuristic.
And if people want to buy it, hey, fine. I just don't want to subsidize it. That's all. I think
Exactly.
people
I
ought to
don't
buy
want my
whatever they
tax
want.
dollars going to that.
Right. Right, exactly. And with every new technology, there's like a learning curve, and generally things start out like that, and then they come down over time, and it has to follow that natural path so you get the bugs worked out. But a lot of
Yeah.
us don't want to be an early adopter. I've never wanted to be an early adopter. So if you want
No.
to be an early adopter and pay 100 grand for a car that you may not be able to get fuel for, awesome. I'm glad people are out there that are like that. I'm just not one.
Oh, so here Lori says they had a Tesla truck stuck on the beach here in the North Coast a month or so ago. And and Bobby says they're safer than regular vehicles. I don't know about that. Not until when it catches on fire. No thanks. No thanks, because you can't put them out. You
uh,
can't put
you
them
know,
out at all.
you know.
And
And
you
even if
know,
they
so
are, if you want to pay an extra 50 grand to be safer, I mean, some people it might be worth it to them. But I don't want to subsidize it. That's all.
yeah. Yeah, I don't either. And we the taxpayers are paying for these charging stations that don't all work.
Mhm.
It's all part of that. Well, listen, hey Don, thank you so much. And everybody, share the message, and we'll be back here on Friday. Have a super, super 4th of July, our nation's birthday tomorrow.
God bless America.
God bless America. I got my red, white, and blue on.
I like it.